Hello there guys, and welcome to this weekend's live streams for IFMC here at the Japanese Grand Prix. I'm JWF1 and we are here at the famous Fuji Speedway circuit for round 17 of the Season 4 IFMC Championship. Sorry there wasn't a press conference yesterday, it has now been cancelled for the remainder of the season. Attendances were very poor again, but hopefully things can possibly get altered for next season if they can. But anyway, on to present day as well. As you can see, we're at the Fuji Speedway circuit for the first time in IFMC history. Usually we'd be at the Suzuka circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix, but for this season, thanks to a shareholding agreement, we're here at Fuji. And it's going to be like that for a while, it seems. So this season, we'll be at Fuji, next season Suzuka, next season, the following season after that, Fuji, the following season after that, Suzuka, and so on. So here we are at the Fuji Speedway circuit, and we'll probably go into a little bit more detail about that a little bit later. Before we start then guys, just a few notes of course. No qualifying bans, so all cars taking part in this session, and only one of the 11 out of the 11 teams has brought an upgrade this weekend, so it'll be very interesting to see who that team might be. But as you can see, bright and sunny conditions for the qualifying session here at Fuji Speedway, and hopefully it should make for a more exciting race this weekend compared to last week at Yeohognan, which was probably not a very interesting race with barely any overtaking done at that track. So, I can see bright and sunny conditions, and I think without further ado, let's get to the qualifying session for the Japanese Grand Prix. So, here we are then in the pit lane, and we're going to go to the end of the pit lane with, let's have a look, it will be Felipe Massa, so we will wait and get this session underway. It is a 35-minute session as per usual, and we'll wait and see who's going to be the first to get the first car to come out onto the track, and we'll talk about a little bit of history about this track for anybody who's not familiar with the Fuji Speedway circuit and was only a Formula 1 fan around about 2009 or 2010 and wasn't a fan of it before 2009. So as you can see, Max Verstappen in the Martini is going to be the first man out on track here at the Fuji Speedway as he makes his way around turn 1 on the track, and hopefully that'll be an overtaking opportunity. Now, a little bit of history for this track, of course. It used to host the Japanese Grand Prix a few times. In fact, this was the track where James Hunt won his 1976 World Championship at, after a close battle with Niki Lauda. The track, of course, over the years has changed a lot in terms of the layout, but it's still an exciting race nonetheless. The last time it hosted a Formula 1 race was back in 2008, when Fuji hosted it for 2007 and 2008, of course. 2007 was won by Lewis Hamilton after torrential conditions, and the 2008 race was won by Fernando Alonso after championship contenders Felipe Massa and Lewis Hamilton came to blows. So, on top of that as well, a little bit more history about the track as well. It was meant to, as I think I've mentioned this quite a few times as well, it was meant to, after the 2008 season, meant to have a shareholding agreement with the Suzuka circuit, because as you know, Suzuka was back as the Japanese Grand Prix in 2009, but the initial plan was it to be a shareholding agreement between Suzuka and Fuji to alternate the races every year. So 2009 it'd be Suzuka, 2010 Fuji, 2011 Suzuka, 2012 Fuji, and so on. However, because of a disagreement between the two owners of each track, Suzuka is owned of course by Honda and Fuji is owned by Toyota, there was a bit of a clash, and as a result no shareholding agreement was ever agreed on. So as a result, Suzuka from 2009 has hosted the Japanese Grand Prix, but we're making that a reality here in IFMC. That's why Fuji and Suzuka have a shareholding agreement for the Japanese Grand Prix this time by. And it did provide some very exciting races when Formula 1 were last year, for the 2007-2008 season, of course, especially the torrential conditions. A very exciting race there. 2008 as well, when the two championship contenders came to blow, provided a very exciting race between Robert Kubica and Fernando Alonso for the race victory. And yeah, so both races were very exciting, and it's a bit of a shame that Fuji is no longer on the F1 calendar because it was quite a good track. But let us know in the Twitch chat, guys, which Japanese track you prefer. Do you prefer Suzuka? Do you prefer Fuji? Or do you prefer any other Japanese track out there? Please let me know, of course. Meantime, though, then Max Verstappen is about to finish a lap, along with several others that were behind him, including Stoffel Vandoorne, Felipe Massa, and a few more as well. But as we go down the longest straight on the track, this is a very long pit straight, So a bit of a run, but let's see what the lap time is going to be then for Max Verstappen, as he's now going to cross the line. What's the lap time going to be? It's a 1 minute 20.166 as Van Dorn slots the second. Massa goes third with that lap. Daniel Ricciardo, who's won the last 3 races, goes fastest for the moment. Sergio Perez in the Eldorado. What can he manage as he goes down the pit straight? And he goes third fastest in the Eldorado. Nico Hülkenberg in the EMR. What can the Mercedes-powered EMR do? He goes second fastest behind Ricciardo. Third for Pascal Wehrlein. Sixth for Charles Leclerc. Here comes Carlos Sainz. Third for Carlos Sainz. Really good time for him there. Clear shadows continue on from the good race that they had from Korea at the moment. Here comes Valtteri Bottas. Across the line goes the Finn, and he goes sixth fastest for the moment. Brendan Hartley slots to 11th with that lap. Kevin Magnussen is now going to cross the line. Well, let's see what K-Mag can do in this instance. And he goes 10th fastest with that lap. Here comes Antonio Giovinazzi in the Bud Light line. And Gio now then will come across the line. And let's see what Antonio Giovinazzi can manage as he will now cross the line. And he goes 4th fastest with that lap. Fernando Alonso is only 8th with that lap. So only P8 for Fernando Alonso, it seems. So must be struggling in this session, it must be said. As Verstappen will be coming back into the pits, which is quite a weird pit entrance, I should point out. You go to the right and then you go around a bit of a chicane, it must be said. Kind of like a Baku-esque chicane, really. So that's kind of like them for the pit entrance. But at the moment, it is currently Danny Rick that's currently fastest at the moment. Daniel Ricciardo currently fastest with, I believe it's Nico Hülkenberg who's currently in second place. And in third is Carlos Sainz Jr. So Carlos Sainz doing a good job in this qualifying session. Alonso struggling, it seems, at the moment. Clearly did not get a good first flying lap in. But we still got 8 more cars to do laps. So very interesting to see. We have just over half an hour of the session to go to determine the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. Alonso will be going back into the pits. Now, of course, he needs to try and save his championship this weekend, because let's not forget, Lewis Hamilton has a golden opportunity to clinch the Drivers' Championship this weekend. Coming into this race, of course, Hamilton has a 21-point lead in front of Fernando Alonso. If Lewis finishes ahead of Alonso this weekend, or finishes a point behind him in the race, so for example Alonso finishing third and Hamilton finishing in fourth, then Hamilton will wrap up his first World Championship. Alonso needs to, at best, possibly win this race or finish second ahead of Hamilton to win the Drivers' Championship. If he doesn't do that, he will not become a 4-time World Champion, and Hamilton will become a brand new world champion. We will have a different world champion in IFMC, and Hamilton will go on to win his first world championship. So that's what Alonso has to do if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive by the end of the weekend, going into Abu Dhabi next week. So here is Ed Jones now, who's come out onto the track for Mars Grand Prix. And Mars have definitely underperformed this season, it must be said. Clearly the Porsche engine has not worked out for them, but they'll be hoping with a switch to Ferrari next season could boost their chances. And through the left-hander then goes Ed Jones as he comes out the turn now then, before going down towards the double right-hander on the track, as Jones will be preparing to start his next flying lap, and up towards the bus stop chicane he will go. Also on the track we have Kimi Räikkönen in the Suomi Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, the man who could clinch the championship this weekend, is out on the track. Brendan Hartley out there as well, as is Felipe Massa. Esteban Ocon out there as well, as is Jean-Eric Vergne, Romain Grosjean, Scott Dixon, Nico Hülkenberg, Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz Jr. Those guys will be coming out on the track very soon, as Jones just rounds the final turn to come down the longest pit straight possibly on the calendar. It's possibly longer than what Catalunya has, as Jones now then is about to start his flying lap now then, as he crosses the line to start it. As Jones now then will head down towards turn 1 on the track. I believe the laps it is, I think it's a 67 lap race from what I can remember when F1 was last year. I could be wrong, but I believe it is a 67 lap race. As coming down through turn 2 there goes Jones, as he'll flick his way through the flat out turn 3, and then this long right hander through turn 4. Around he will go as the sparks come off the back of his car before slowing it all the way down to turn 5. So flicking the car in through that left-hander, using the curb on the outside before heading towards the flat-out double left-handers on the track. And now heading down towards the bus stop chicane. And Jones now then flicking the car in through the turn through the right, and then into the left, and then into the right again, as he will now approach the final 4 turns on the track through the final few turns then. Through the left-hander he goes, where Kubica and Hamilton, I think, ran into each other in 2007 when it was horrific conditions. Kubica just didn't see a thing and ended up ramming into the back of... pretty much spinning Hamilton, nearly taking him out of the race. And then, of course, Vettel and Webber had their blows in that same race as well under the safety car. Vettel couldn't see a thing and ended up ramming into the back of Webber during the safety car period. Meantime, here comes Ed Jones across the line. He will go, and it's a 1:21.180. Obviously puts him 15th. Kimi Raikkonen in the Suomi. Let's see what the Iceman could do. It's 4th fastest for Kimi. What about Lewis Hamilton? Could he beat Ricciardo to the top? And no, he can't. He remains second without that. Ricciardo's still in front of him at the moment. Brennan Hartley crosses the line and goes up to 10th. So Hartley now into the top 10 with that lap. Here comes Felipe Massa, Hartley's teammate. He's currently 16th, being outpaced by Hartley as they come down the pit straight now then. As Massa will now cross the line. Can the Brazilian improve on his lap? Across the line he will go, and he does. He goes up to 7th with that lap. Esteban Ocon slots to 4th. A good time from Ocon to go into P4. Jean-Eric Vergne goes 8th for that lap. A brilliant time from him. 18th only for Romain Grosjean. Another good lap from him. Still 3rd for Nico Hülkenberg. Scott Dixon goes up to 21st. Gets in for the teammate Dixon. I think 16th only for at the moment for Leclerc. But can he improve on this lap? Across the line he will go, and he does. He goes up to 5th. A really good time. The Shadow's doing a really good job around this track, it must be said. Mercedes seem to be doing well in the high-speed tracks recently. Here comes Sebastian Vettel across the line. He goes, and he goes fastest. Vettel to the top of the timing sheet. Alonso goes 4th for the moment. Vettel goes top for the moment in this session. Sainz now then will go across the line. It's 7th fastest for Carlos Sainz Jr. as Jones goes back into pit lane. Anybody else on a lap? No, there isn't. So at the moment, it is currently Sebastian Vettel that's fastest at the moment, with Daniel Ricciardo 2nd and Lewis Hamilton in 3rd with Alonso 4th. So the two Etiads currently locking out row 2 at this stage. But Vettel looking to try and get his first pole since I think the United States Grand Prix towards the end of the first half of the season. And that's that really. So as you can see, Massa will be going back into the pit lane at the moment, but it must be said that clearly this long straight here at Fuji is doing a lot in qualifying, it must be said. And even the corners as well seem to be benefiting the GRMs and the EMRs, that's for sure. And even the the Martinis we know can be quite good on the straights, not all the time, but seem to be quite good in the corners. So it seems to be helping them out, with Ocon up in around about 5th, I think he is at the moment, currently outpacing teammate Max Verstappen, just like he did last weekend as well at Korea. Ocon was able to outpace him last weekend. As here comes Carlos Sainz Jr. as he rounds the right-hander, as he will now come into the pits this time by, and he'll flick to the right. And Sainz also having quite a good qualifying session, it must be said. Same with teammate Leclerc. I think they're currently locking out row 4, it must be said. So Sainz into the pits as Ricciardo comes back out on the track. See if he can try and snatch back pole from Sebastian Vettel if he can now then, as he goes down the hill towards turn 3 on the track. So through the left-hander, and then around a long right-hander goes Daniel Ricciardo. And the sparks come off the back of his car now then, as he prepares to start his next flying lap. Ricciardo just flicking it through the left-hander. Also on the track we have Pascal Wehrlein, who's currently 13th at the moment. Max Verstappen coming out, down in 14th, looking to get on par with teammate Ocon. As Perez comes out, down in 17th, so he's struggling at this stage. Grosjean down in 19th, also struggling. Raikkonen out on track. Bottas coming out. Looks like Eldorado struggling around this track a little bit. Ocon's currently 6th, I do apologise. Hulkenberg is in front of him at the moment. Dixon will be coming out, as will Van Dorn, Jones, Vergne, Vettel, Hamilton. Those guys will be coming out in a little bit. Here comes Ricciardo, who will now come up towards the final corner as he now prepares to start his next flying lap. Heading out the turn and coming down the long straight before approaching the first corner on the track. And so Ricciardo now down the long straight as he will now approach turn 1 here at Fuji. So down the straight we go. Ocon comes out on the track. Ricciardo hoping Ocon doesn't hold him up as he will now approach turn 1, which is kind of similar to how Budapest is in real life. It's kind of a similar sort of corners that you get at Budapest, the first couple of corners. As Ricciardo now goes flat through the left-hander, and then around this long right-hander he will go, as he looks to try and snatch back pole from the EMR of Sebastian Vettel. Round the left-hander then goes Ricciardo as he uses the curb on the outside, heading down towards the double right-hander, as he will now approach the bus stop chicane. And let's see if this is going to be a good enough lap for Ricciardo, as he will soon approach the end of sector 2. Round the left and then into the right-hander, getting towards the edge of the track as possible before approaching the final few turns. And around the left-hander he goes up towards the last 2 corners on the track. Then we go. And let's see what Ricciardo can manage on this instance then. Up towards the final corner and onto the pit straight goes Daniel Ricciardo. Can he snatch back pole from Sebastian Vettel as he will now head down the pit straight? Ricciardo is going to cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement for the Honey Badger? Across the line goes Ricciardo. Is this an improvement? And it isn't. He remains second with that lap. So still behind Vettel, who, speaking of which, is about to start a lap at this stage. Wehrlein about to finish the lap. Can he get the AMP into the top 10? Wehrlein coming across the line now then. And let's see what he's able to do. Across the line. And he goes up to 5th with that lap. A good time from Wehrlein. It's P5 for the German. Gets alongside fellow compatriot Nico Hülkenberg at the moment. Here comes Max Verstappen. Can he get up to teammate Ocon, who's currently now in 7th place? Verstappen now then across the line. He will go, and he goes, improves, but remains in 14th. So pretty close, I think it must be said, in qualifying. Still 17th for Perez, as Hamilton starts the lap. Still 19th for Grosjean. Grosjean struggling around this track. Still 10th for Raikkonen. Bottas crosses the line, improves, but remains in 15th for the moment. Here comes Dixon, and in fact Jones was the guy who's out qualifying Dixon. I do apologise. Dixon currently behind Jones, but let's see. Can he try and improve and beat his teammate Jones as he comes across the line? And Jones goes across the line. Sorry, Dixon goes across the line. He does, but he remains in 22nd. He must have made a mistake on his first lap to be 8 tenths better than his personal best. Verne now then across the line he goes, and he goes 3rd fastest. A really good time from Verne. So 2nd and 3rd for the GRMs at the moment, doing really well around this track. Side by side, Van Dorn got held up. He stays 18th, still 21st for Jones, still 8th for Esteban Ocon. Here comes current pole sitter Sebastian Vettel. What can he manage as Vettel crosses the line and he remains P1 for the moment? So that's that for him really at the moment as Wehrlein goes into the pits, as will Verstappen a little bit. Here comes Hamilton, who's on a lap, looking to try and see if he can grab pole himself. Up towards the final turn then goes Lewis Hamilton, and let's see if this is going to be an improvement for the championship leader and the man who could snatch the who could clinch the Drivers' Championship this weekend. As he heads down the pit straight, Hamilton will now cross the line. And is this going to be an improvement? It looks like he might have been held up. In fact, yeah, he's 5 tenths off. It looked like Perez gave him a little bit of a hold up, so he remains in 4th place for the moment now then. So maybe there is still a little bit more improvement in Hamilton yet. So we will wait and see on that as he be coming back into the pit. So at the moment, the top 5 looks like this then. It is currently Vettel fastest with Ricciardo 2nd, Verne 3rd, Hamilton 4th, and Alonso in 5th. So that's what the top 5 currently looks like, and then following them is I'm trying to think off the top of my head now, is Wehrlein in 6th, and then it is Hulkenberg 7th, Ocon in 8th position. And so very interesting qualifying moment here at Fuji. It's definitely spicing things up, it must be said, in this qualifying session as Hamilton rounds the bus stop chicane as he will head in towards the final few turns on the track. And he will soon flip the car around the left-hander. And Hamilton now then just comes off the turn before approaching the final corner as he flicks the car around the right-hander using the curb on the outside now then as he will coming back into the pits this time by, which he does as he flicks the car to the right. And that's that for him. Brendan Hartley now then out on the track along with Kevin Magnussen, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, and there'll be a few others as well as Hamilton go. Oh no, that's Alonso in fact, he's coming back out as he looks to try and get in front of teammate Hamilton if he can. As here's Hartley now then as he goes around the double right-hander and up towards the bus stop chicane he will go. So through the right and then into the left-hander goes Hartley as he comes off the turn heading up towards the final few turns around the right-hander and then into the left before approaching the next section of corners as he will come off the turn heading in towards the final corner. And he uses a lot of the curb on the outside as he will now start his lap as he heads down the long straight on the track, heading down the pit straight and across the line he will go to start his next flying lap. And we'll wait and see what Hartley can do then at this time by, with I think just around just over 15 minutes remaining in the session. Well, just over 17, I should say, but close. As Hartley comes around turns 1 and 2. As Hartley looks to improve on 16th at the moment. So far, I think he's been outpaced by Massa. I'm not 100% sure, but that's that really. As Hartley flicks the car around the right-hander. It looks like Monza could be in full with a battle with the likes of Shadow at the moment, because Shadow are currently doing a good job in this session, it must be said. I think they're currently locking out row 5 at the moment, so both Sainz and Leclerc doing a good job at this stage. So now around the bus stop chicane goes Hartley as he makes his way out the turn before approaching the final few corners. As now he comes around the left-hander, and let's see what Hartley can manage as he comes out of the final few corners. He goes, and then into the final turn will go Brendan Hartley, and let's see what he can manage then. Can he improve upon his 16th place as he comes down the long straight, and across the line goes Brendan Hartley, and let's see what the Kiwi can manage. Can he improve upon 16th? And no, he can't. He remains 16th for that lap, 200 off his personal best. Kevin Magnussen currently 20th. Can he get up to teammate Raikkonen? And he improves, but only up to 17th place. As Leclerc goes third with that lap. A good time from Charles Leclerc to go to third place at the moment. A really good time from the Monegasque. As a few cars behind him start a lap, Hulkenberg remains 8th for the moment. As meantime, Ricciardo, a few cars starting laps. Here comes Alonso. Can he try and get pole in the Etihad? Across the line goes Fernando Alonso. Can he do it? And no, he can't. He improves, but goes up to 4th. So he gets in front of teammate Hamilton for the moment. Hamilton down in 6th place. That's exactly what Alonso needs. As pushed a little bit more down because Sainz goes up to 5th. So a good time from Sainz to get up into P5. P11 for Massa, an improvement for him. Still 13th for Giovinazzi. Still 8th for Verline. As we now look at Bottas, who looks to improve in the Ferrari-powered Eldorado. And Eldorado have been struggling the last few races, and if they're not careful, they could end up losing their chance of grabbing second in the Constructors' Championship. They dropped back to 4th last time out in Korea after what has been described as a disastrous weekend for the Romanian team, probably the worst of their career. And, well, they have to hope they can try and get second if they can. But Bud Light Lion have now overtaken them again for third in the Constructors, so that's pretty much that. Bottas doesn't improve, remains 15th for the moment, as there was a load of cars stacking up over here. I wonder if there's been a load of hold-ups in the process. Perez now then, across the line goes Checo. Is this going to be an improvement for Perez? And no, it's not. Remains 18th. Still 14th for Verstappen. And still 19th for Stoffel Van Dorn with that lap. And I think there was a few more cars. Daniel Ricciardo crosses the line, remains 2nd for the moment as Alonso goes back into the pit lane. And this is turning out to be quite a close session, it must be said. And anybody seems to be trying to get their name towards the front of the field, it must be said. But at the moment, it is still Vettel fastest, with Ricciardo 2nd and Leclerc, surprisingly, in 3rd place in the shadow. And, well, I bet that will put a smile on team boss Jake Walmsley's face, that's for sure. As Ricciardo now flicks it through the left-hander on the track now then, as they'll head down towards the double right-hander on the track. And as now into the chicane goes Daniel Ricciardo, as he'll now make his way around back into the pit lane. As Vern now then, his teammate, comes out on the track. Vern currently sick for the moment. Vern having a good session, it must be said, and probably trying to see if he could try and get a drive somewhere for next season if he can, trying to prove a point like this at the moment. Currently up in 6th place, finally showing some signs of brilliance at this stage of the season, and it's probably exactly what Jev needs after what has been quite a tricky season for the Frenchman. But he seems to be finally getting his feet again, like he did towards the end of Season 3 last season, when he was brought in to replace Gutierrez, who underperformed for the team last season. So he might be starting to find his feet again, who knows. But Vern now then goes around the bus stop chicane, as he will make his way up towards the right-hander. As he just comes off the turn before approaching the next section of corners. And he comes out the turn up towards the final corner. Then goes Jean-Eric Vergne as he prepares to start his next flying lap, as we have just over 12 minutes to go in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. Romain Grosjean out on the track now then. So Grosjean out there, as is Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen Also out there as well, Ed Jones, Esteban Ocon, Scott Dixon, Kevin Magnussen, Charles Leclerc, current pole sitter Sebastian Vettel, championship leader Lewis Hamilton, and it looks like he might be holding up Vern. Vern trying to hang it around the outside of him into turn 1, and that's Vern's lap compromised as a result. Hartley going out on the track, and we'll also be expecting teammate Massa, and we're expecting Giovinazzi and Hulkenberg to join these guys in a little bit. And so that's that for that really. We'll have a look at Vern, even though he has had his lap compromised now by championship leader Lewis Hamilton, as Hamilton tries to improve upon 7th place at the moment as they make their way down towards the double right-hander, the flat-out double right-hander. So now they make their way up down towards the bus stop chicane, round the right, then the left, and then into the right-hander again. And Vern now then just going around these section of corners. So he will now approach the final few turns, and Vern now then will approach the final corner, and let's see how much time he's possibly lost as a result of that little compromisation Hamilton caused him at the first corner as Lewis was coming out of the pits. And here comes Vern now, then across the line goes the Frenchman. Let's see how much time he's possibly lost as he comes down the pit straight. Across the line goes the Frenchman, and he is down by 0.5 of a second, so that's how much time he's possibly lost. He could have been on for a little bit of an improvement had it not been the case. As Grosjean's about to finish the lap, and he's definitely struggling, it must be said, along with teammate Giovinazzi. Bud Light Lime clearly not suited to this Fuji track, and even Massa seems to have a bit more straight line speed than the Audi powered Bud Light Lime at the moment. So Grosjean now then will cross the line, and he remains 20th with that lap. Massa starts the lap and could get held up by Grosjean as well. Raikkonen remains 12th. Suomi even struggling around this track as Ocon looks like he's been impeded by Jones a little bit, and as a result doesn't improve, remains 10th. Jones still 21st. Looks like Hulkenberg's now going to be held up, and he'll possibly remain 9th as a result. Can Dixon try and outpace Jones across the line? He improves but remains in 22nd position. Here comes Magnussen down in 17th. And a lot of questions surrounding his future, of course, about where he's going to end up next season, of course. Whether he'll still be with Suomi next season alongside Kimi Raikkonen is a question, but we'll wait and see on that, of course, as Leclerc's also on a lap behind him. Magnussen now then will come across the line, and let's see what K-Mag can do, and he improves but remains 17th, as Leclerc doesn't improve and remains 3rd, and that's his laps done with, as Vettel doesn't improve, remains on a 1 minute 19.617. Hamilton remains 7th, so no improvement for him there at the moment. So Hamilton clearly not having the measure. Teammate Alonso is up in 4th at the moment. Hartley is about to finish a lap. Can he get the monster car into the top 10? As the Kiwi now then is going to cross the line, and he doesn't, he does improve in fact, but remains in 16th on his final flying lap, so not a good session for Hartley. Still 13th for Giovinazzi, as it's still 11th for Felipe Massa, so both monsters outside the top 10 this weekend. Here comes Hulkenberg now then. He's probably been held up severely on his final flying lap, and as a result it's going to be a disappointing qualifying session for him, as he remains in 9th place, so only P9 for Nico Hulkenberg, and so not a good session for the German as a result. As we wait for a few more cars to come out, with just over 8 minutes to go in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix here at the Fuji Speedway. As Hulkenberg now then rounds the right-hander, as he will soon approach the next section of corners on the track. Round the left-hander he goes, as he just uses a little bit of curb on the outside as he heads down towards the double right-hander on the track. Heading down towards the bus stop chicane we will go, as the sparks continue to fly at the back of Hulkenberg's car. Around the right, then the left, and then into the right-hander again, as he will soon approach these next section of corners. And Hulkenberg now then will go around the turn now then into the left-hander, and then into the final corner on the track now then. And let's see what Nico Hulkenberg, as Hulkenberg goes back into the pits, and it will be P9 for him as he's got no more laps to complete. Bottas now then has come out onto the track along with, that looks like Carlos Sainz Jr., who's currently in 5th place at the moment. Shadow doing a good job up in 3rd and 5th. Clearly this track suited to their car. It seems to clearly continuing the good form they showed at Yeognam last weekend at Korea, so doing a good job there, that's for sure, but clearly must have advanced a little bit in terms of pace. Ricciardo also out there looking to see if he can try and get Vettel on his final flying lap, trying to see if he can try and snatch back pole that he had like at the beginning of the session, if he can, as he's currently on the front row. Alonso looking to see if he can try and get pole himself. It would really help him out if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. As Wehrlein comes out on the track, as does Grosjean, Perez, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Jones, Ocon, Van Dorn, Dixon, Verne, and those guys will be coming out in a little bit, and I think Hamilton will be coming out a little bit later on than these guys then, as we have just under 6 3/4 minutes left in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix here at the Fuji Speedway, as Bottas now then starts his lap as he heads down the pit straight, along with a few more cars that are behind him, including Sainz, Ricciardo, and I think that's Alonso as well, as I think I mentioned a few times. But Bottas heads down towards turn 1, possibly where we're going to be seeing some overtaking opportunities being done around this track. Heading down the hill now then towards the left-hander, and through the left, and then in towards the long right-hander he will go, and as he will soon head in towards the quick left. In towards the left-hander he will go, coming off the turn using the curb on the outside, as he'll now head down towards the double right-handers he will go, as he will now head down towards the bus stop chicane, around the right, and then into the left, and then into the right-hander again goes Bottas, and as you can see, Bottas now then will go around these final few turns to complete his next flying lap. Can he try and get the car into the top 10 if he can, as Bottas rounds these section of corners, as he will now approach the final turn on the track around the right-hander, as he will now head down the pit straight, and across the line goes Valtteri Bottas. Let's see if he can try and get the Eldorado into the top 10. Bottas now then across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve, remains 15th, so a disappointing qualifying session for him. Still 5th for Carlos Sainz Jr., still 2nd for Ricciardo, unable to get Vettel as a result. Van Dorn starts the lap, as does Ocon, as Alonso goes fastest, so Alonso beats Vettel. Alonso goes to the top of the timing sheets. Alonso on his final flying lap goes fastest for the moment. Jones starts the lap, sorry for the little technical hitch there, with RE Central. Dixon about to start the lap. Wehrlein on an improvement in the AMP, as he rounds these final few turns now then. Let's see what Wehrlein can manage. Out of the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go. And let's see what Pascal Wehrlein can manage then in this instance now then. Wehrlein is going to cross the line, and let's see what the German can manage. And he improves, and I think goes up to 8th or remains in there, if I can't quite 100% remember. Grosjean goes up to 14th, but still a disappointing qualifying session, but like Lime, still 19th for Perez, disappointing again for Eldorado, only 15th for Max Verstappen, as he's been outpaced by Ocon yet again for the second weekend in a row. Still 12th for Raikkonen even struggling around here. Verne now then is going to cross the line in the GRM. Let's see what Zhev can manage, and he doesn't improve, remains 6th with that lap. So now we'll look at Van Dorn. His teammate's up in 8th place, but can Van Dorn find some improvement? He was a little hold up, but let's see. Across the line goes Van Dorn, and he remains 20th with that lap. So not a good session for him. Still 10th for Esteban Ocon. As Dixon is currently on a lap in the Mars Grand Prix cars. He rounds the final turn, and onto the pit straight he will go. And let's see what Dixon can manage then. Can he try and get in front of teammate Jones on his final flying lap? Across the line goes the Kiwi, and let's see what he can manage then. Across the line he goes, and he improves and gets above Jones. So Dixon outpaces Jones and goes up into 21st position. And there are a few more cars in the pit lane at the moment, and some of those guys are Vettel, Magnussen, Giovinazzi and Hamilton. Looks like it's only those 4 yet to do a lap. Vettel looking to try and see if he can try and get back pole from Alonso. There's only, well, if you look at it, there's only 22,000 separating both Alonso and Vettel in this session, so not that much between them at the moment. Vettel will want to try and improve on his lap and try and grab back pole that he's had for the majority of the session. As down the hill then goes Dixon, as he will now round the bus stop chicane, as he comes off the turn heading down towards the final few turns on the track. And Dixon will be heading into the pit lane this time. Magnussen has just come out onto the track for Suomi Grand Prix. As he's out there, as is Sebastian Vettel. As Giovinazzi and Hamilton wait up. But Hamilton's now going out. And Gio will be going out in a little bit as well, I would think, to try and see if he can get the Bud Light line with the top 10 if he can. And yes, he will. So all four will be able to do their final flying laps with just over 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. Magnussen now then round the bus stop chicane, round the right, then the left, and then into the right-hander again he will go before approaching the final few turns. As he will now swoop the car round the left-hander, heading out of the turn, as he will come off the turn now then before approaching the final corner. And let's see what he can manage then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight goes Kevin Magnussen, as he's now about to start his final flying lap, which he does now then. Behind him is Vettel as he looks to try and get pole back from Fernando Alonso. Heading down towards turn 1 goes Magnussen, and Hamilton will be looking to try and get up there himself, and because at the moment Alonso looks to be, if it stays like this for the race of course, then Alonso will keep his championship hopes alive going into Abu Dhabi next week if the qualifying session remains as it is, with Hamilton down in 7th. Here comes Magnussen now then around the long right-hander, and then heading down towards this left-hander on the track as he comes off the turn using the curb on the outside, as he will now head down towards the double right-hander, and now heading in towards the bus stop chicane we will go. And let's see if Magnussen could try and improve in the Suomi. It looks like it's going to be a disappointing session for Suomi, being 12th and 17th. As now around the right-hander goes K-Mag. Let's see what the Dane can manage then in this instance. Around the left-hander, coming out of the turn now then before approaching the final corner. And let's see what Kevin Magnussen can do then. Around the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Kevin Magnussen. And let's see what the Dane can do. Down the pit straight and across the line goes Kevin Magnussen. Is this going to be an improvement for the Dane? Magnussen across the line. Checkered flag is out, and that is the end of the session. And he doesn't improve. Remains in 18th for that lap. So not a good session for him. Vettel, can he get pole back from Alonso? No, he can't. He remains second with that lap. What about Hamilton? Can he try and get pole in the Etihad? He's down in 7th at the moment. He's got clear track in front of him. Can Hamilton improve on his current lap time at the moment, which is 7th place? He needs to if he wants to wrap up the championship this weekend, of course. Have a golden opportunity to wrap it up. Hamilton now then heading down the pit straight and across the line goes the Brit now then. Hamilton, can he get pole off teammate Alonso? Across the line goes Hamilton, and he improves, but only to 6th place, so he doesn't grab pole. What about Antonio Giovinazzi? What's his lap time going to be, as he's now going to cross the line? Giovinazzi, and he doesn't improve, remains 13th, and there you have it then. So after all of that, after a very close qualifying session, it's Fernando Alonso who takes pole position for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix, and a very crucial pole position as well for the Spaniard if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive this season. So there you have it then, guys. After all of that, here is the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. It's Fernando Alonso on pole position with Sebastian Vettel in 2nd, Daniel Ricciardo 3rd. As you can see, the top 3 only separated by 800ths of a second. Very close indeed. Charles Leclerc, a very good 4th place. I think that's a best ever qualifying session for Shadow, with Leclerc in 4th. Carlos Sainz Jr. 5th, a great result for him as well. Lewis Hamilton 6th, Jean-Eric Vergne 7th, Pascal Wehrlein 8th, Nico Hülkenberg 9th, Esteban Ocon 10th, Felipe Massa 11th, Kimi Raikkonen 12th, Antonio Giovinazzi 13th, Romain Grosjean 14th. Both Bud Light lines struggling in this session. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Valtteri Bottas in 15th, Max Verstappen 16th, Brendan Hartley 17th, Kevin Magnussen 18th, Sergio Perez 19th, Stoffel Vandoorne 20th, Scott Dixon 21st, and Ed Jones in 22nd position. So there you have it then, guys. That is the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. It's looking to be a very exciting race, and hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow to see whether Lewis Hamilton can make it up through the field and win his first World Championship, or whether Alonso will keep his championship hopes alive going into Abu Dhabi next week. So there you have it then, guys. That has been it. I hope you enjoyed it, and that has been it for today's live stream. It's been a very exciting qualifying session, and it looks to have the makers of a very exciting race as well. Hopefully it's more exciting than what Yognam offered last week But that has been it then, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. We will see you then, guys, tomorrow at a later time of 4:30 PM BST due to the F1 race at Silverstone for, I believe it's the 67-lap Japanese Grand Prix, which sees Fernando Alonso on pole ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo. So until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I'm in JWF1, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Japanese Grand Prix. Until then, take care.